about his relationship, Tupac's relationship with Dr. Dre afterwards. Then when I asked you about Quincy Jones, and the comment that Tupac made about Quincy that's been mysteriously erased from the internet.
Well, Mopreem just said that if he knew about the audio, he would talk about it, but no such thing exists.
Come on. No.
Surely, hundreds of people can't be talking about a non-existent audio, which only means that a lot of money was poured into making sure it was erased from the internet completely. I don't know, guys, but if you ask me, a lot of people always seem genuinely scared to say something that would rub Quincy the wrong way. However, people also say that there was a time when Johnny Mack was talking about a Quincy Jones party he attended on Foxhole Radio, and he said he met Quincy Jones and spilled something about Quincy asking him to come into a room with him. At the time, people kept asking him to elaborate further on the show, and he said he didn't want to talk about it anymore. Apparently, he brought it up randomly again months after that, when Quincy Jones's name came up again during the show, and said the same thing. But again, if you go searching on the internet, you will not find the interviews.
Imagine a second income renting out other people's properties. This is not a drill. There's a way to get started with your own.
Well, somebody who wasn't afraid of spilling the tea on Quincy was Professor Griff. And I know a lot of y'all may say that he's a conspiracy theorist, but there could be a lot of truth to what he said about Quincy Jones.
The thing that raised some eyebrows with people is when I dropped the information about Quincy Jones. I let the chips fall wherever they fall.
That's right.
This dude was one responsible. He had a magazine financed by Warner Brothers and the rest of them. He set up rings in Hollywood.
Now, how many times have you heard about these rings in Hollywood? And is it really surprising that Quincy may have been heavily involved with them? Anyway, Professor Griff also said something about that audio of Tupac that mysteriously disappeared.
When Tupac said no, that's when Tupac was marked for death. Why? Because Tupac was engaged to Quincy Jones' daughter. Quincy Jones' daughter's best friend was Aaliyah.
Interesting how Kidada was so close to both Tupac and Aaliyah before they both died. He also spilled about P Diddy and his connection to Quincy Jones.
Homo dude, all that, what's his name? Puffy, P Diddy, whatever he called himself this week. He was one of the ones that orchestrated some of these things.
We've already heard stories in detail with receipts about what Diddy was involved in. And if he was working with Quincy, only God knows the extent to which they went. And about those people wondering why Quincy would ask his daughter's fiancé to sleep with him, apparently, Kidada was not as important as how they both have been trying to portray it. There have actually been two reports about where Kidada was on the night that Tupac was shot. One is that Tupac told Kidada to stay back at the hotel because he was trying to keep her out of harm's way. Another spin was that Tupac was trying to do his thing without her because she wasn't that important. It's actually been said that Kidada and Tupac were engaged, but after his death, his friends hinted that their relationship was nowhere near close to them being engaged. So it's possible that it wasn't that hard for Quincy to ask Tupac to sleep with him. Oh, if you need receipts on whether Quincy was or still is on the DL, he was quoted talking about the inches of another man's you-know-what in an interview with GQ where he said, "Come on, they were good-looking guys. They had all the girls they wanted, and they showed you how to deal with it. So did Ruby Rosa, the king of the Playboys. Amazing man. What a guy. 11-inch dong." How can you possibly know about that, Q? However, as far as the allegations, when he was asked in a different interview with the New York Times whether he had anything to do with Tupac's death because he refused to sleep with him and talked about it, this is exactly what he said. "Man, this is the biggest age of haters I have ever seen in my life. I've been called a blonde lover, file, gay, everything. I don't care, man. Imagine my daughter being engaged to Tupac and me trying to make love to him. And I'm not into no men, man. I'm a hardcore lesbian. Are you kidding? All my life. All my life." I don't believe it. But what do you think? Did Quincy have the interviews about him hitting on Pac and possibly even Johnny Mack deleted from the internet? Is it possible that his request that was denied had anything to do with Pac's death?
And RKelly groomed late singer Aaliyah despite the fact that they both knew she was underage, and it appears their relationship played a role in Rockefeller's downfall. In a recent interview with Kenyatta Griggs, RKelly co-founder and JayZ's longtime friend Dame Dash said he tuned into Surviving R. Kelly, the explosive 3-night special that explores the unsettling sexual abuse allegations against R. Kelly, and that he still feels revolted by it. Dash told Griggs that the series wasn't easy to watch because it evoked painful memories about Aaliyah, who was once the love of his life and strangely also JayZ's ultimate crush. Dash claimed that he had watched as much as he could tolerate, and as a human he felt tight and hurt by the scenes he was seeing. He claimed watching a girl trying to put her pain and the events to words, but she couldn't, and all he could think about is how Aaliyah also struggled to explain what happened to her only for her to leave it at, "That dude was a bad man." What seemed to have hurt Dash the most is the fact that his partner JayZ knew about Kelly's alleged misconducts with underage girls, including Aaliyah, and even though there have been rumors circulating that JayZ also liked her, he still supported Kelly and even teamed up with him to produce an album a few months after Aaliyah's death. Dash himself claimed he couldn't do anything about the situation on what R. Kelly had done to Aaliyah, but he never intended to be associated with him, not after realizing the kind of man he actually is. He said, "I didn't really want to know what he did, to the extent that I would, deal with it because that's what a man does. But it was so much hurt for her to revisit it. I wouldn't want to revisit it without a professional. Whatever got done was terrible." Dash and Aaliyah had met and fallen in love in 2000 and continued their relationship until her tragic death in 2001. It's quite shocking that despite being known as Aaliyah's friend, JayZ released The Best of Both Worlds as a collaboration with Kelly several months after Aaliyah's death. Instead of paying respect to the woman he once had feelings for, JayZ joined hands with her assaulter and tried to make money off her demise. Of course, Dame Dash strongly opposed the album, wanting nothing to do with the man who hurt his girl. He said, "If you remember The Best of Both Worlds, you don't see my name on that. I never wanted no part of that." Dash said Jay knew about Kelly's alleged sexual abuse of Aaliyah, since Kelly even went ahead and illegally married her while she was still underage. But that didn't stop his RKelly co-founder from teaming up with the singer. Dash also claimed he refused to be credited on the album and that he donated his profits to a breast cancer awareness organization Aaliyah supported. Dash explained, "I know I'm not fucking with that. I knew, morally, we were the same," referring to Jay. To Dash, JayZ working with Kelly meant RKelly was defunct and what they had was over. It wasn't in a sense where he felt like he couldn't forgive the two, but more because he couldn't understand why a morally upright man would want to be associated with someone of R. Kelly's caliber unless they were alike. He continued, "It was over. I couldn't fuck with it. It was something that, to me, I don't want to say unforgivable, but I couldn't understand it." Obviously, JayZ knew about Kelly's weird obsession with younglings, but instead of disapproving it, he tolerated it, or more like associated with it. It wasn't that big of a surprise in the infamous Hollywood industry when hell broke loose for Kelly and people realized that he had allegedly married Aaliyah in 1994 when she was still underage, and that she wasn't the only victim. The news was solidified when a former backup performer for R. Kelly testified that she saw Mr. Kelly engaging in a sex act with Aaliyah around 1993, when she was only 13 or 14 years old. The woman, who testified under only the name Angela, told jurors at Kelly's criminal trial in Brooklyn that she was performing with him on tour when she went to visit the singer on his tour bus. Angela claimed the incident happened way back in 1993, a couple of months before he allegedly married Aaliyah, meaning that he was having sex with a minor, and obviously the young girl must have not given consent for him to touch her.